Good morning. Welcome to the Parenting Connection Show. Today I have an exciting, well, I'm not going to say exciting. The person I have, Monica Deller, my guest, she's exciting in everything that she does to save people, to save children. She is from Trauma to Triumph, and she helps young people that have been human trafficked. Welcome to the show, Monica. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Exciting morning already. Nice to meet you.
So tell us a little bit about your passion, which is saving children. How did you get into this? How did this fall in your lap?
I come from trauma myself, and back in the day, without stating my age, there wasn't the help there that there is now. And I don't know, I think through what I went through in my life, God just birthed that passion in me to do for others. It's a deep passion that just drives me. And we work with kids that, I call them kids at potential. Labels are harmful to kids. Kids at potential that come from broken families, and it all marries together with the human trafficking, because that's a big source for the human traffickers. So I believe in addressing the whole body, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and nutritional. And there's nothing in the whole US of A that is a long-term facility where we can bring these survivors of this horrific crime that does address the whole body. There's some good organizations out there that, day programs, week programs, short-term programs. But through my own experience in working for all these years with foster care kids, tribal council kids from the native world in Canada, where I was raised before I immigrated to Texas. And anyway, I get contacted by people, mothers especially, that have had their kids stolen into human trafficking. And that's what started me, including, because it's not just the kids at risk and their families. It's now the huge thing is human trafficking. And the area where I live in, I'm right in the middle of it. The road I came in on this morning, there was one huge where there was our troopers, border patrol, sheriffs, where they had all these illegals onto the side of the road. Yesterday, when we went through a little community, I'm talking a little community, and right in the center of town. And so something had to be done, and God birthed it in me to do it, along with a whole team I've got of great people. And we're just adding, we have rangers, retired rangers, Green Berets, SEALs. They all have that same passion to go in and rescue these kids. So that's a new thing God has laid on our life, in our hearts. And anyway, it's an exciting journey. It's a sad journey. It's we have
Yes,
to.
I imagine it that some of the cases that you come across are very heartbreaking. What's your actual goal? First, tell us the name. I think the name is Triumph to Trauma to Triumph. Is that the name of the organization, or is that the name of your book?
Triumph, a voice for the voiceless.
Okay, so Monica is also a best-selling author, and her book is titled Trauma to Triumph, and you can get that on Amazon, anywhere where books are sold. But could you educate us just a little bit on what human trafficking was? Because what drew me to your organization is that a lot of people don't know. When I was in my young 20s, I was right in the mix of human trafficking, and I didn't understand what was going on with young women. And some women became my friends. I just didn't understand because we weren't educated about it. It's something that wasn't talked about, and I think that it needs to be talked more about in schools because even as an educator, I know I have suspected to where young girls and young men were possibly being trafficked. So tell us about what trafficking really is, because some people may not understand what the word means.
There's more people that are not aware of it than are. I mean, even some people that I talk to about the passion that's on our heart and what we're doing, they have a hard time wrapping their mind around that people can actually do that to a child, even a baby. Um, and yet 300,000 kids, are forced into this prostitution and pornography annually. It's a $32 million a year um, industry, and this is hard to wrap your head around. Like 6,000 child victims, and we're talking kids, um, will be raped and used for sex for money by 6,000 men over the course of a 5-night week. Now, what you hear on maybe social media and the news and that is these kids are between maybe 12 and 15, but they're younger. Like a baby, a baby is raped regularly. You know, um, Human trafficking is basically they're stealing the lives of these young children. Nobody's safe anymore. I have a friend, and she's got a book out, and she was in a supermarket at the cash register when three people circled her, two women and a man, and they got her little girl out of her arms and were saying, "Say bye bye to mama," and thankfully she kept her wits about her, and said to the cashier, "My child is being trafficked. I don't know what kind of thing they have under their cashier where they alert the security, but thankfully, before she left the store, she got her child back." I was at the dry cleaner today, and the girl says to me, "What?" And I handed her my card, and she says, the other day, Walmart in the middle of a community of maybe 35, 40,000 people, broad daylight. She's coming out of the store, and there's these group of men. Like another friend has a cousin, and he was a male who drove into Walmart in the middle of the day. And we're talking broad daylight when, it's the busiest. And he gets out of his truck, and they surround him, and they demand his keys. They want to take his truck. Marked them and went in to the store, and he came out, and they did it again. And so he pulled his handgun. He had a conceal and carry. He had a permit for it. He was legal, and that got rid of them. But it's like that all the time. The life I lead, and this is even my age. I'm not safe. It's not just human trafficking is not just for sexual exploitation. It's for organs. It's for slavery. We have more slavery now than we ever did. And I don't know. I just get really upset because people have a right to their own lives. They have a right
Yes.
being
Hmm.
free and enjoying themselves and having their childhood and making your own choices. I can't fathom the idea of having my choice taken away from me. You know,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
God even gives us a free choice, and yet these people come in, and it's for greed. It because of the money. It's for self satisfaction because of the sexual pleasure they get. The younger a virgin a virgin child, boy or girl, highest prices. And the biggest, we are the third. The US of A is the third largest supplier and buyer of it.
Wow. And
Now that's
so, and that sickens me, because we are supposed to be the land of the free. you know, in the last couple of years, we've watched rights be stripped from us. Through this whole pandemic thing, we watch rights be stripped from us. And because of fear, we've allowed it. And that's one of the communists, that's out of the Communist Manifesto. If you can scare somebody enough, you take away their rights. And so I think with human trafficking, the same thing. I knew somebody that at the time, well, she had told me the story that she was trafficked when she was 12 years old, and when they got done with her, used and abused her, they beat her. They thought they beat her to death, and she survived it. And that girl worked in and out of the sex industry, as a teenager. And so nobody was there to save her or help her. And I personally know stories like this, but like I said, when I did know these stories, I was young and naive, and I didn't understand. I just really didn't understand it. And I think there's more knowledge, just people like you educating us, and what you're doing is so important. You talk about your goals, to educate, rescue, and restore. So talk about that with your organization.
I always say that I developed a program. I know it was Holy Spirit inspired. I would say I'm not that smart to figure out all the what this program is, and it's a residential program on a ranch setting. Because kids, I know I found from myself, even as a young adult, what was my comfort was my horse. And I would go tell my horse all my deep, darkest fears and feelings, and just go cry on his shoulder. And kids can horse therapy, dog therapy. So that's what our program wraps around, and it's on the website. A little bit about the programs. We're currently trying to raise the funds to purchase. We have a ranch picked out, and it meets all the needs. Um, but these kids need to come and know that they're safe. For one thing, they need to know that they're safe, and just at their own pace. Um, Trust is a big issue. They've got to find out who they are again. They're totally stripped. Everything is stripped from them. Their identity, everything is stripped. They drug them up. They beat them up. They, like you said, they beat it out of them. They try and make them a nothing. And so our program is to restore. God is the center. I'm a Christian, born again believer, and Jesus is the center of my life. He's the center of the program. And then a whole team of professionals. Um, I believe that we need to work on the whole person first, of course, being spiritual, and then when you have that part, then the emotional damage done to these kids and young adults, and then the mental, and they recede into themselves to deal with the pain. When they're being traumatized. Um, Trauma isn't even a strong enough word to explain how they feel. I just can't. I don't want to start crying. I get sad about it. But the good thing about this program is because it does address the whole person. And being on a ranch, um, it's out in the open. It's more secluded than being in town, so which makes them feel safe. Because human traffickers gravitate to city centers, and your neighbors, my neighbors, like I just found out a mile from where I live, they had a house. Like, thank goodness it got busted, but you don't know. They say every neighborhood has at least one home. So
Wow.
it's
Wow,
things
that's
to look
scary.
at, like how much traffic is coming and going, who's coming and going. Like, people need to pay attention. Um, Texas we have the biggest crime rate here, but we also are the leading in fighting this. And on the Attorney General's site, there's a film called Be the One. It's offered for free to watch it online, or you can order um, the DVD. I encourage everybody to do that because it tells you what to look for. It tells you what to look for when you're sitting at a stop sign, and you're sitting there looking around you. Or it tells you what to look for. Like if you're a teacher, there was one girl story in that film that she was an A student. She was a beautiful student and did really great. And then all of a sudden she started to regress. Her grades started stopping, lowering, and she started coming dressed to school sloppy, and she wasn't the popular kid anymore. She became withdrawn. Well, the principal paid attention, and she kept monitoring it and asking questions. And finally, what the, the result of her change was her dad, her birth dad, had been in jail her whole life, came out, and he started raping her himself and then pimping her out. But
I just honestly think
girl,
there should be the death penalty for that. I really do.
More than the death. That
Yes.
I used to think this, and I stand by it. It's like, for what these people do, what is a punishment that is appropriate for the crime? And at first I thought the death penalty is too easy because however long it takes,
Once they die, they're burning in hell, and so
yeah,
but so there's no escape.
That's what I find.
So,
that is the best solution, because the minute
put them to death, we'll send them on to hell. Because even Jesus says anybody that harms one of these little ones is better. It would be better for like a millstone to be tied around the head and then cast into the sea. And so God doesn't play with that. And these children or young people or like you said, it can even be somebody older, they're without hope. And so not only that, if you're a Christian, and you may be listening, watching the show and you're not a Christian, but if you're just a good American, we owe it to our fellow Americans to know some of these signs. Monica, can you tell us some of the things to look for?
I want to say this first. Do you know that every 2 minutes, how long have we been talking?
Maybe about 15 minutes, maybe.
Okay, so every 2 minutes, a child is being stolen into human trafficking. That's a sobering thought. Every 2 minutes, a child is being stolen.
Well, I do know 1 out of 3 has either experienced sexual abuse or knows someone that has been sexually abused. So with those numbers, and now what you're talking about, every 2 minutes, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. We need to do something. We need to say something. People need to know what to look for. So what are some? You told us the story about the young girl at school. What are some of the other signs? You said something about traffic. Somebody that has heavy traffic coming in and out of the house. Is there anything else?
Take her in a store, and there's a child. You notice the child's really quiet, and usually with a male. Okay, although it's sad how many females. We're supposed to have that nurturing spirit in us as
they need to die too.
Yeah, but they're being part of luring these girls in. Some of them are stolen, some of them are lured in. And by their appearance, you can tell, if you're paying attention, you can tell somebody that's in pain. You can tell. I mean, even somebody that's just having a bad day, you can tell. If you're in tune to body language, or they don't have a voice. They're not allowed to speak. they're going along with somebody and they're not allowed to speak, and if you talk to them they don't answer, or watch for the cues that maybe they reach out and they're trying to tell you with their eyes or some body thing that they want help. Like a child sitting in the car when you're at the stop sign. A child, I think a person can tell the difference in the child that's being subdued, or they're in fear for their life or where they're being taken. They know where they're being taken and what they're going to have to do. Is to watch that body language, and look for the cues, and watch for if there's a child alone with a man, like what a loving dad and a child portrays a certain thing. They're talking, they're whatever they're doing. It's just a normal part of day. But if that child is hanging back, or they're quiet, they're feared, there's no what person that spark. I say there's no spark. Somebody
Right.
that this is going through. They don't. I watched a video clip the other day, and she was a young lady, late teens maybe. She had been raised uh, by the Satanists. That's a huge deal that we don't hear anything about. And she didn't have a personality. She had no spark. She was dead inside, and she portrayed that when she was talking. And they had tried to groom her um, to be one of them. Only there was something in her that wouldn't allow that. And I mean, this may shock viewers, but it's hard to shock people nowadays into this stuff really exists, because they can't wrap their head around the fact that somebody could do that to somebody
Right.
else. And this girl was talking about these little kids that are boiled alive in feces and urine, like for satanic pleasure. Like a person has to be that evil to
Yeah,
be able to do it. But
that's
what to
epitome of
do is,
evil.
yeah, how I was frustrated a few months ago, and I thought, do you know what panda eyes are? The panda bear with the black eyes? Well, a young child that is sodomized, they cry so hard, the blood vessels around their eyes, they break. So then they end up with black eyes, like panda eyes. So they're called panda eyes. And I was sitting there and I said, how am I going to, just talking about this, just, it's not reaching people. So what am I going to, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use, a shock tactic. Seeing is believing, isn't that what they say? Seeing is believing. So I
Right.
have a picture of these little kids, and I'm talking little kids with the panda eyes, and it was explaining what it was being sodomized, and I put that across social media. Do you know I got one reply, and that reply was, "I wish I hadn't seen that before I went to bed."
Mm.
That's all I got.
I think the reason why people don't say anything is because they're afraid of being wrong. But my thing is, what if you're right? It's not really your job to investigate it. You get the information to the professionals. It's kind of like with child abuse. I have a duty to report if I suspect something, and so once I report it, then it's no longer left up to me to do anything. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry if I wasted your time. But, when I've been right, hopefully a child was saved. And so, and I can't stress enough that, leave it to the professionals, keep an eye open. And of course, we don't want to, some things you can't unknow. And like that person that left you that comment, they're accountable now, because now when people that are watching this video now, and the people that are going to watch the replay over and over again, or as it's streamed, now you're accountable for what because you have a little knowledge now. Okay, you are putting together a tactical operation. Can you tell us some about that? I want people just to kind of see the, you're talking about the whole child. in the whole, all the needs of this person. Tell us about the tactical operations mission that you have.
Well, I have one person who's a Green Beret and a SEAL. Like they've done active duty in both, so they've got the training in both. And the person is a Ranger and a SEAL. The same way they signed up, they did years, and then they tried civilian life, and then they signed up, did another branch. Well, they're two people that are in my life, like that I know personally, and they just when they realized what I was doing, and I said to them, "How do you feel?" Like we're in the middle of it where we are, because it's the border. It's happening all around us. This isn't a migration. This is an invasion. What is happening is an invasion. And it's not like the media tries to portray that it's families and all that stuff. Most of what you see, and we physically see it with our eyes, is men. Men. And what we're being told now, I belong to Keeney County Republican Women's Group, and they're a dynamic front runners in this fight. And the sheriff there, Sheriff Brad Cole, and the lawyer Brent, like they're telling us now that it's they're sending over their what do you call them, their own military, or infiltrating, coming in bit by bit to conquer us from within. That's what they're trying to do. And this
Oh yeah,
administration,
that's been a plan for a long time.
they want,
Choice
if America goes down, where else is there to run? And what they don't realize is, because the general public doesn't realize that this isn't a migration, because that's what the other side would like you to believe. It's an invasion coming in by the thousands. I mean, daily. One community close to me, 8,000 a day. They put them on they process them, put them on these white buses, and they're given a $1,400 debit card. You're my taxpayers' money. And guess where that money's going? Back to the cartel, because the cartel is the one that they go through to get across the border. And they hold a family member back to make sure that you pay. What about, there's 8,000 kids a year going missing out of the social services, foster kids. 8,000 a year going missing. Where are they going? They're being sold into human trafficking. Nobody says a word about that. 1.2 million of our kids are American kids. I don't care what race they are. They're American kids. There are American kids that are homeless on the streets. I mean, with numbers after numbers after numbers. If they're on the streets, they're not getting medical, they're not getting educational, they're not getting nutrition, they're not getting any of that stuff. And yet we're giving $1,400 a day. I mean, a person, sorry, because of this administration. And what is that doing? That's bringing in more human trafficking. It's bringing in more crime. People are not safe. I went to one meeting, and he was a rancher, and he had gone with his son out to check the water hole. We have reservoirs and things, how we irrigate and whatever, and to check. He left his wife and little girl at home. He's telling this story at this meeting. And he said his wife called and said they got into his house. They got into their house. And I wish every woman should have a husband that talks like this. He said, if you know my wife, she's smoking hot. He said he did 5 miles in 3 minutes to get there. Their kids can't go out and play, not just because of these guys, but they're at risk for being human trafficked. They're at risk for all kinds of things. Like the pandemic, you mentioned the pandemic. If the pandemic was as dangerous as they said, like the plague was, do you really think they'd let hundreds of thousands of people unchecked across the border?
Well, this administration will. This administration will. That's just, whatever. As long as they can stay in power, as long as that's all they care about is power. And so, I mean, it is what it is on that.
But where's the unity those of us that
We. Mhm.
to look at the numbers, the even just to use common sense. When you see that all these people that are coming across the border, most of them are men. Kids are used. Kids are used like tools. Some of these kids are back and forth across the border because they use them to get across, and then they take them back, and then they use them to get somebody else across by saying that they're kids, and they're not checked at the border. President Trump had a thing in place that you stayed in Mexico and applied to come into the
Yeah,
country. So
he
that
did.
that
He
by
did.
trafficking. But without that in place, now human trafficking is just it's increased by leaps and bounds.
It
It's
is, and so I do. I have a heart. I really do. They believe that they need to fix the immigration system. I don't think it should be a free for all. But as an educator and a mother, I love these children, no matter what color they are, where their backgrounds are, if they're raised here, like you said. If they've raised here and they've been gone through our school system, some of them have endured so much. They are Americans, and but yes, they do need to put some security on the border, so the human trafficking is not here. We can't we get involved. American gets involved when they want to, and I think right now they need to concentrate on our own country and make sure that we're secure and safe, and take care of our people and take care of the people that are already here. If the kids have been raised here, they're American. They just may not have the paperwork that say so. Let's talk about the upcoming gala. And so I'm very excited about that. You are raising awareness, and you're also raising funds, because none of this can be done without funds. Let's be real. We need money to help transform these children that have been, their lives have been ripped away from them, and we're trying to get it back from them. Tell us about the gala.
The gala is it's casual theme. At first I was thinking, like bring people, let everybody have a good relaxing evening. And then somebody said to me, why would you have a fun night? This is a sober subject. So we've had a facility donated to us. It's a beautiful facility, and they are just fully supportive of this work, and their hearts are also touched by the plight of these children. So they have given us this facility. They actually have hunters go in and hunt quail, and that's what their business is. Um, but they've graciously donated this. I have some great speakers, you being one of them.
I'm very excited about what you're doing out there. I was so happy, excited to be invited. And so actually, you and I got connected through Jen Goatson. And so me and her just wanted to
And
hang
they're
out. She's
coming.
like, hey, I'm
And they're
going to be in San
coming.
Antonio. You want to come? Yeah, sure. And then there ended up being this great event happening. And so I'm very
Can I
excited
share
about that. That
how
is
I
October 9th. October 9th is the gala, and Triumph, Trauma to Triumph. One is the website they can go to get more information. I'll make sure, and I think I already have it in the description of everywhere this is going to be airing. Trauma to
go to the event
Triumph.org,
and go to the event page.
and go to the event page, and you can see the guests that are going to be there. Me being one of them. Jen Goatson's
Yep,
going to be
Jen,
there, and Farmer in the Bell, and so her amazing ministry that she's doing to help people find the beauty within them. So that's going to be amazing. What else? What else would you like us to know, Miss Monica, before we go?
I want to share how Jen and I got together. I was sitting, if I'm really stressed, I watch a Christian movie, because that's where I can get away from all this trauma and I can get into a movie. And I had my iPad actually, and I was out at the ranch, And I was going through the movies looking for something that would appeal to me. And I Farmer and the Belle was one that came up, and I thought, well, no, that's not that, so I went past it. But I kept coming back to it. It was just that unction of the Lord. So after about the third time, I thought, okay, Lord, you want me to watch this. So I watched it, and it's the most awesome movie, and
It's
it
cute.
was what I needed. But at the end of the movie, they have a place where you can go to their website, and they have a store. Anyway, they had this bracelet that was in the movie. And I thought, it's my granddaughter's birthday. So I'm going to order that for my granddaughter. So I ordered the bracelet for my granddaughter. Well, I get an email, a thank you email from Jem, and saying thank you, and my order was whatever. The next day, I eat the ranch in the morning. I go have my coffee and my whatever breakfast, and I have my my little Chihuahua, and I have a Airedale puppy. So that's the time when she can run and know that I'm right there. And I open my email, and there's one from Jen. And what reached me, that I knew that it was from God, was she started out how she had gone to my website, and she said, be still, be still. And that I needed to hear that morning. I absolutely needed to hear God speaking to me. And then she went on about how could they come alongside and help the girls through human trafficking. And so I took a couple of days to respond, because for starters, I didn't know somebody like Jen would reach out to me, right? and I have this thing. I have one shot at everything. I need to cross every T, dot every I, and get it right, because I might not get a second chance. I live my whole life that way. And so I responded. And then I said, we're doing this gala. Would they be guests? And the rest is history, right? But that's how God works. Like if I had not been over, he wanted me to move, to watch, I'd have never met them. I'd have never met you. I'd have never had this opportunity. I'd never had you all up at the gala. Like, God knows the whole picture, right? We see this one little piece of the puzzle, but God sees the whole picture. So, and like that, like it's our responsibility that once we know to do something, because you know what? I'd rather be right before the Lord, wrong before man, than be the other way around. If it turns out to be nothing, nothing's lost. But if you don't do it, and it means something you should have done, you may be the only chance that person has.
Wow.
So that's a heavy responsibility. And I want people to hear that, because once you know and you turn away from it, my saying is you're just as guilty as they are.
That's right.
If you're knowing it and you're not doing anything, then you're part of it. You're just as guilty. I'm just as guilty. So it's a serious thing, and it's a big responsibility. But I hope we're selling tickets on there. Tickets are available online, or we can send them to you if you don't want to do the online thing. Some people don't want to do the online thing, so we can send you a hard copy ticket.
And that website again is
great people that are
that website again is trauma2triumph.org, and they do have some immediate needs for this gala to be successful. People love silent auctions, and so if you have something worth auctioning that you can give to this event, please do that. I don't get anything from it. What they're doing is solid, and it's for a certain demographic of kids that need help. You may not be able to be a part of the tactical force and go in there and kick in a door, and rescue a child, but you can give to this. You can give to help, because like I said, everything costs money to do. It is unfortunate but if you have it to give, then you are doing your part. And so do that.
We're a
So
501c3.
do that.
We're a 501c3, so we can give receipts.
Great. And so
And for the task force,
are you allowed to say where everything is located? I know you can't give the
yes,
address, but
at
would
first
I know
we had it
you're in Texas? I'm sorry, I keep
because
cutting you off.
at
I'm sorry,
first
Mona.
we okay, and technology's come so far, right? At first we said that when you purchase the ticket, we would disclose the location. Part of it is because we represent with the human trafficking. Of course, we make enemies with that. And the other part to protect our guests. But it's in Hondo. There's an airport in Hondo. The nearest big airport is San Antonio if you're coming from out of town. There's the airport in Hondo can fly. It takes in, I'm not what size, but small jets. Hondo's a really beautiful community. There's some really nice hotels there. Hondo is at the start of going into Hondo. It says, "Don't drive through Hondo. This is God's country. Don't drive through Hondo like hell." And somebody came up against them for that sign a few years back, and that little community stood up and they wouldn't be bullied. So Hondo's a beautiful place to come. So, and all my contact is on the webpage if you need any information or help booking something or more information about what's going on there. Don't hesitate to reach out. But I want to say something about the tactical. This is a new program, so they need we need funds to purchase the ranch, and we also need funds to get this up and running. This tactical operation. There's equipment needs. They need uniforms so that they can be identified as who they are. They need equipment needs. There's a lot of stuff needs to get this going, and this is a really important part because they're, like you said, kicking in doors and going and rescuing these kids first in our own community, and then reaching out and going wherever. So, and there's courses like, because these guys and SEALs and stuff, of course, they're well trained, but not in the realm of human trafficking. So they need training for that. These courses cost money. So if you donate, you find where you want it to go to, whether you want it to go for the purchase of the home for them, or whether you want it to go to the tactical part. We're the only one that has the two. There's some great underground railroad is one of them that go in and rescue kids that actually physically go do it, but they don't have the place to bring them. We're doing is they're rescued, the place to receive them. When I talk to law enforcement, when I talk to immigration, whoever, they all say the same thing. They have nowhere to take these kids for long-term rehab, and that part is really important because they either get snatched back into it, or the success rate is small. You can't take somebody that has been that broken, that tortured, that traumatized, and fix them overnight. They need a place to go and long-term where that can happen. And we've got big security too. Like these veterans, these retired veterans, amazing. They're not old guys, they're still, in the 30s, 40s, a lot of stuff going, and they've seen that other side of the world. So they're really passionate, and they're reaching out to other people like Underground Railroad for some ideas and maybe some training, and maybe some of them can come our guys to see them through, maybe a couple of, I don't know what to call it, whatever it would be, rescues. So I think that and the housing are the two biggest things, and of course educating, but hopefully if I tell you, you're going to go tell somebody. Hopefully they're going to go tell somebody. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, I have a huge audience, so it's like dominoes. The more we tell, the more we get it out there, the more other people tell. And we reach people, one person, hopefully more than one person at a time. But I think you're amazing. I think you're amazing that you take people like Jen and I on who are, doing God's work and exposing it and giving us time to get that out there. So I think you're to be commended, and I want to really thank you, bottom of my heart, for this chance to get the word
Well,
out for these.
I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Um, I have to do my part. I feel like, just like we talked about before, just being a good American, to do your part when you can. Mike Allen, he wrote a post. Are you able to see when somebody puts in the chat? Can you see that, Monica?
No, I can't. Sorry, and you're breaking
Okay,
up
so
on my end.
he just pretty much prayed a blessing over everything that you were doing. Thank you, Mike, for watching. Please share this out, and when you see this, share it out, please. Sharing is caring. And so we're going to go ahead and close it up. Monica, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for what you're doing for America. I hope. Hey, one question: will I get to meet some of the tactical people at the gala?
You absolutely are. We're actually putting up a booth. They are putting up a booth, and and I think you just might want your picture taken with some of these. There's,
Yes.
These are good, strong,
Yes. Am I that transparent?
and they're
Okay. Well,
they've had many tours to Afghanistan and Iraq. So absolutely, there's going to be a booth there. We're going to show some of the things. The local sheriff's office is going to give us some equipment to show for what we need to outfit them, because of course they have to be safe. And what people are going to do is pray for us, because we, you included, by exposing this, are in the enemy's territory, and he wants to stop this. I mean, there's so much more that I shared. Adrenodome, the blood. They go after the blood. They torture these, take their blood. They drink it. It gives them a fountain of youth, and it's them a high. And there's horrible things, and people just don't get it. I would say, think of a baby that's being raped. Take off, you take off their arms and their legs and their neck, little body that's left, and penetrates that. What does that do? It cuts their breathing. Like, there's horrific things going on, and people need to open their minds, say, yeah, and what can I do? Like, it's frustrating. It's frustrating when we have the programs, we have the facility earmarked, but it all boils down to money. It boils down. And when every movement, the child is being used and sold for sex, this is a crisis. This is critical. This needs to go to the forefront. Instead of buying your cup of coffee, send the money for the cup of coffee, towards that. Every penny counts, right? I went to a thing many years ago, our marketing says, take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. You're too small. Or for this event coming up, no item too small that we can't put up for bid and we take nothing. I work for free. I don't take a wage. And I support. I put my own money back into the ministry. But I can't cover all the needs. And if I could, we'd have bought that ranch by now. And God's keeping that ranch because it hasn't sold. It hasn't sold. So for that, we need, right off the bat, we need 12 million. And then the building, our facility, I wanted to have our own school, our own hospital, our own activity center, our own arena, the things for the animals, everything, so that these kids don't have to go out into the community until they're feeling safe. It's not that
They're ready. You're
safe
trying to
place
build a
for them.
community.
It's right
It's
there.
going to be great.
Yeah. So anyway,
Monica, I hope that
thank
we
you.
can all help your dream come true for these children and be a part of it, and reap the blessings that God's gonna, give us one day if we're doing this. Be blessed, and I just pray blessings over everything that you're doing, and I pray that many lives will be saved and changed. And I will see you in just a little over a month.
Yeah. So maybe you can put a plug in that people can. You don't come and see these
Well,
famous people.
I'll be there. Well, I don't think I'm famous, but
You can give them a hug. Give them a hug.
Jen's famous, and so I'm just a servant of the Lord, and I just go where He leads me,
Yeah.
and so I will see you. I will see you soon, and so take care.
God bless
Bye. Thank you for watching the Parenting
God bless.
Connection Show, and share this out. Bye.